Suppose tomorrow morning, suddenly, without any preparation, you get 5 crore. What will you do? Who will you tell first? Your family? Your relatives? Your best friend? If your answer is yes, you have already lost. Because what I am about to tell you in the next few minutes will determine whether you will be able to save that 5 crore in the next 5 years or lose it. In that moment, it feels like God has been kind to you. It feels like your life has changed. It feels like everything will become easy now. But this is where Machiavelli's warning comes in. Who was Machiavelli? 500 years ago in Italy, there was a political thinker who wrote the real rules of power and authority. The rules that you don't find in books. The rules that explain how the world truly works. He said that fortune is like a woman. She favors the bold. But those who are not ready, who are not wise, she abandons. The meaning is clear. What seems like a blessing to you could become your downfall, because suddenly received wealth doesn't change you, it exposes you. Your real weaknesses, your bad habits, your illusions, everything comes to the surface. You think you have gained freedom, but in reality, a new burden has fallen upon you. A gravitational force that starts pulling every person around you towards you. Everyone wants a piece of your new world. Now maybe you're thinking, this is not going to happen to me. I'm middle class. I don't have a startup or a big business. I'm not going to suddenly get crores. But wait, think carefully. How many people in your city has the value of their land increased 10 times in the last 10 years? A metro line came, a highway was built, and a plot worth 5 lakh became worth 50 lakh. How many people suddenly got a share in the family business when their elderly father retired? How many people suddenly received an inheritance from a distant relative they never even thought about? How many people's small job, small shop, or small YouTube channel suddenly went viral and started earning lakhs per month? This is happening every day. It's happening around you. Maybe it hasn't happened to you. Maybe you continue living a comfortable middle-class life. But if it does happen, if fortune favors you, if suddenly 5 crore or 10 crore comes into your hands, what will you do then? Because the real question isn't whether this will happen or not. The real question is, if it happens, are you prepared or not? And this is where the dark reality comes in, which very few people know. Those who become rich suddenly, they hardly ever manage to preserve that wealth. Studies conducted worldwide on lottery winners and instant millionaires reveal a frightening picture. A pattern emerges that repeats every time. As quickly as these people rise, they fall just as fast. Within a few years, more than half are divorced. Many become addicted to substances. Many go bankrupt. Many fall into depression. Long before the money runs out, they have lost their friends, lost their family, lost their peace of mind. But why does this happen? Because these people make a fatal mistake. They mistake the wealth for wisdom. They think that just because the money has arrived, everything will automatically be fine. I know everything, but the truth is, preserving wealth is 100 times harder than acquiring wealth. Machiavelli saw this among the kings of his time. Those kings who inherited their kingdoms, who had never fought a war, who had never seen struggle, they simply got the throne because of their ancestors' hard work. Machiavelli wrote that a prince who becomes king only by luck will only preserve his power as long as luck supports him. The day luck turns, that king is finished. The exact same thing applies to money. If you haven't developed the habits that build wealth, if you haven't learned the discipline that preserves money, then that wealth will disappear even faster than it arrived. So, before you celebrate, before you tell the world, understand this one thing well: your greatest weapon is silence. The world will tell you to beat the drum of your success. Post stories on Instagram. Put photos on Facebook. Tell everyone how successful you've become. But Machiavelli's rule is the complete opposite. He says that those who shout about their victory are inviting others to attack them. The moment you display your wealth to the world, at that very moment, you reveal your biggest weakness. What do wise people do? They believe in stealth wealth, hidden wealth. People who own everything, but look from the outside as if they have nothing special. Their neighbors think they are living an ordinary life. They see their simple car, their normal clothes, but in reality, their influence, their power, their money is far greater than what is visible. Let's take an example from history. Cesare Borgia. He was a ruler in 15th century Italy. Machiavelli studied him deeply and wrote about him in his book. Borgia, through cunning, charm, and calculated cruelty, had built an entire empire. Yet he learned one thing: when you become too visible, when you start to be seen too much, enemies start to appear on their own. His wealth and power created more envy than admiration in people. It created jealousy. It invited betrayal. Now let's take a modern example that will explain it even more clearly. Jack Whittaker. He was an ordinary man in America. He did construction work. He was a family man. In 2002, he won the Powerball lottery, $315 million. About 2,600 crore Indian rupees. Overnight, he became famous all over America. And what did he do? He thought, now that I'm rich, I should also be generous. He made generosity his new identity. He started giving thousands of dollars in cash to strangers on the street. He started donating lakhs to churches. He started buying houses for friends, gifting cars to relatives. The media made him a hero. Newspapers published praise for him. Interviews happened on TV. Everyone said, "Look what a noble person he is." But slowly, what happened? When the media lights went off, when the cameras were gone, his real life started to crumble. His wife left him. Those friends for whom he had done so much, to whom he had given money, given houses, they all disappeared when he needed them. And the saddest thing, his granddaughter, a 16-year-old girl, suddenly got so much money that she drowned in luxury and drugs. Within a few months, she died of a drug overdose. A few years later, when someone asked Whittaker in an interview, "How do you feel now?" his answer was, "I wish I had torn up that lottery ticket on the very day." Think about it. After winning 2,600 crore, a person is saying, "I wish I had never won." This seems directly out of Machiavelli's philosophy, because the first and most important rule of suddenly received wealth is the same as the first rule of preserving power: hide it, conceal it. Keep your power, your money, away from the world until it becomes stable, until your foundation becomes so strong that no one can shake it. If fortune gives you gold, behave from the outside as if nothing has changed. This isn't about humility. This isn't about being a good person. This is about survival. In today's world, where everyone is broadcasting their life on social media, where a photo of every little thing goes on Instagram, anonymity is your strongest armor. Now you might think, "No, I'm smart. I can handle all this. I'll manage the attention. I'll decide who to tell how much." But Machiavelli will remind you of human nature. Humans are basically fickle, envious, jealous. The moment people get even a slight hint that you have something they don't, from that moment they start testing your boundaries. They see how much they can extract from you. And the most dangerous thing is that your closest people, your friends, your family, even they unconsciously start comparing their lives to yours. And comparison always creates jealousy, creates resentment, creates distance. So the question becomes, how do you actually protect your wealth, protect yourself in a world that worships visibility, where everyone wants to be famous, to be seen? How do you stay hidden and still move forward? How do you remain unseen while moving towards greater power? The answer is not just in staying quiet. The answer is in structure, in frameworks. Privacy isn't just about who you tell and who you don't. Privacy is about how you structure your wealth, how you organize it, how you give it legal protection. And this brings us to the second rule of suddenly received wealth, Machiavelli's art of disguise. The art of concealment, the strategy of hiding. You can't just become rich. You have to learn how truly rich people operate. Unseen, untouchable, protected behind legal walls that turn your wealth into an invisible fortress. The second rule is concealment through structure. Hide through frameworks. Machiavelli taught that a prince should build forts, but those forts shouldn't be made of stone, but of strategy. In your case, that fort is a privacy that looks ordinary. Even if you don't tell anyone, the people around you will sense that something has changed. People smell wealth the way wolves smell blood. They notice small things, your new habits, the change in your confidence, your small upgrades. The world teaches you to display success. Show it. But Machiavelli teaches you to disguise success. Hide it. So who do you tell first? The first person you should tell is not your friend, not your family member. The first person should be a good lawyer, an attorney, the modern-day counselor who knows the language of trusts, foundations, tax shields, because real wealth is never directly owned, it is structured. When Machiavelli advised kings to rule through intermediaries, through middlemen, he was explaining exactly this principle. Power works best when it flows through layers, when its source is hidden. In today's world, this means a trust that hides your name, a holding company that shields your assets, and professionals who quietly handle your affairs while your public life remains unchanged. Exactly the same. Discretion isn't paranoia. Discretion is power. Jack Whittaker shouted about his wealth and died hollow. The Rothschilds built their wealth and remained invisible for centuries. The Rothschild family is a European banking family that has been among the richest in the world since the 18th century. But very few people know them because they never came forward. When this family financed wars, lent money to kings, even then the family appeared modest, quiet, even boring. They let their influence speak louder than their lifestyle. This is stealth wealth, the aristocracy of silence. Now people will tell you, don't quit your job. I disagree, but with nuance. The point isn't to keep the job, the point is to keep the momentum. Work keeps your mind sharp and your ego humble. Machiavelli wrote that idleness, sitting idle, makes a man weak, soft. The danger of suddenly received wealth isn't spending. The danger is stagnation. So don't stop working. Just leave what drains your spirit or limits your autonomy. If your job is suffocating, leave it on your own terms. Not as an escape, but as a statement of sovereignty. A declaration of your freedom. Keep the rhythm. Stay active. Stay useful. A working man stays focused. An idle man becomes a victim of impulse. Look at the richest people of our time. Jeff Bezos, founder of Amazon, the world's biggest e-commerce company. Bezos didn't scatter his energy into random things. He fortified one fortress, Amazon, and methodically expanded it. Warren Buffett, the legendary American investor, one of the world's most successful investors. Buffett spent decades refining one single craft, investing. And at 90 years old, he still wakes up to do that work. He understands what Machiavelli understood: focus is a form of power, and consistency is a weapon. A prince who divides his attention weakens his defenses. A man who spreads his wealth thin invites collapse. Once your habits and identity are stable, then comes the time to secure your finances from an invisible threat: debt. Machiavelli warned kings to eliminate internal dangers before external ones. He wrote that an illness caught early is easy to cure, but if neglected, it becomes incurable. Debt is exactly that illness. High-interest loans, credit cards, these are silent killers that feed on your carelessness. When your account is full, they may seem minor, like small things. But compound interest runs faster than greed. A 20% interest rate can consume a treasure faster than a thief. So, see debt as a rebellion, an insurrection inside your walls. Crush it first. Pay off your high-interest debts before you invest a single rupee anywhere else. This is the only guaranteed earning in the world of money. If you eliminate a 20% interest debt, you have effectively earned a risk-free 20%. Then look at your other debts: car loans, personal loans, even home loans. If the interest is high, cut it, eliminate it. If the interest is low, like 2% or 3%, then consider keeping it and using that money to earn more elsewhere. This isn't stinginess, this is strategy. Machiavelli says a wise ruler doesn't spend to look rich, he spends to stay rich. When you eliminate debt, you aren't just clearing your accounts. You are regaining mental peace. You are removing that subtle unease that gnaws at every decision. You are silencing that inner voice that says this wealth is temporary. Without that noise, you start thinking like a king, not like a servant. But remember, even if your fortress is intact, even if your debts are gone, your biggest challenge still lies ahead. Not from the market, not from taxes, but from emotions. Especially the emotions of others. Because when you become rich, you don't just attract opportunities. You awaken hunger in those closest to you. And in the next stage, that hunger will test you in ways that numbers and accounts never can. Once you have built your fort, eliminated your debt, a new war begins. The war of emotions. Machiavelli said that people are more likely to harm someone who wants to be loved than someone who wants to be feared. The danger with wealth doesn't come from enemies. The danger comes from friends, relatives, and those who feel entitled to your wealth. When you suddenly rise, people start telling themselves stories. You owe me. You were just lucky. You couldn't have gotten here without my help. Their thinking comes from the heart, not the mind. Their intention may not be bad, but envy doesn't announce itself. It comes silently. The fifth rule of suddenly received wealth is this: never lend money to friends or family. The moment you do, you turn relationships into transactions. If they can't pay back, resentment grows. If they succeed, they feel indebted. In both situations, you lose. Machiavelli warned princes never to give what they cannot take back without creating hatred. The same applies to money. When people feel you have endless money, they start testing your limits. They will ask, just a small loan. For a job, for an emergency, just this once. Refuse once, and you become the villain. Agree once, and you become the bank. You become an ATM. So what's the way? The way is to help wisely. If someone you truly care about genuinely needs help, like for an illness or a major crisis, then give with an open heart. But only once. And never call it a loan. Tell them you are giving them a gift, but with one condition: they will never ask again. This changes the equation. You remain generous, but not weak. And strangely enough, by drawing that line, you are more likely to preserve the relationship in the long run. Machiavelli's understanding of mercy fits perfectly here. It is better to cause pain once than to suffer it every day. Be clear. Not cruel, decide once and move on. Look at examples from today. Athletes who rise from poverty often lose everything, not from bad investments, but from generosity. They start carrying the burden of the whole family. They start supporting dozens of people and become prisoners of guilt. When the money starts to dry up, those same people disappear. Take boxer Mike Tyson. Tyson was the world's most famous boxer in the 80s and 90s, the heavyweight champion. He earned over $300 million in his entire career, about 2,500 crore Indian rupees. But within 10 years, he was bankrupt. His wealth wasn't just destroyed by extravagance, it was destroyed by the countless hands that reached out to him. Wealth reveals the truth, who wants you and who just wants what you can give. Machiavelli says this is natural. People are loyal only as long as they are benefiting. That's why your strength should never rest on their love. It should rest on your boundaries. To preserve wealth, you sometimes have to appear cold. But remember, iron without control breaks. Control without a heart becomes tyranny. The trick is to be like the sun, warm from a distance, untouchable up close. Now, once you have understood generosity, another temptation awaits you: spending. This is where more people have fallen than on any battlefield in history. The sixth rule is old, but will always be true: never eat the principal. Only consume the earnings, only consume the interest. Rich people who stay rich treat money like a field. They harvest the crop without destroying the soil. Poor people who become rich treat money like wood. They burn their own foundation for a little warmth. Listen to a story. A family in California won a huge lottery, millions of dollars. What did they do? Bought a mansion, bought fancy cars, put children in expensive schools, designer everything. 2 years later, they had to sell that house for half its price. Their wealth didn't disappear. It was eaten by debt, taxes, and wrong decisions. They broke what I call the king's golden rule: your principal is your kingdom. You protect it. You live off its earnings, not off itself. In simple language, this means you live off the interest your wealth generates, not off the wealth itself. Machiavelli advised kings to always keep reserves because fortune changes, and he who builds without thought builds for ruin. Calculate your freedom figure, the annual income you need to live comfortably. Multiply that by 25. That is your hidden throne. For example, if you need 1 lakh per year to live comfortably, you need to save 2.5 crore, applying the 4% rule. 100,000, 25 calories, 25 million. The interest sustains you. The principal remains. Even if you haven't reached that figure yet, start thinking like a king. Every decision about money is either an investment in your freedom or a surrender to impulse. Every rupee you preserve buys you time, peace, and options. The goal isn't pomp and show. The goal is power, stability. But once you've established that system, once your wealth stands on its own feet, then what do you do with it? Where to invest your money so it grows quietly without causing you panic or danger? The answer lies in the final rule, the last law of fortune. How to create an investment plan fit for a king, diversified, secure, and forever. Now that you've learned to preserve your wealth, the question becomes how to grow it. Listen to the last rule: diversify your money. Spread it across different places, some in land, some in business, some in gold, and always keep some liquid cash in hand. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. And most importantly, never touch the principal. Live only off its earnings. Don't cut the tree, eat the fruit. The goal is not thrill. The goal is endurance. The Medici bankers of the Renaissance understood this centuries ago. The Medici were the most powerful banking family in 15th century Italy, who lent to kings and financed wars. They spread their money across countries, across different ventures, and across generations. They weren't just rich, they became immortal. This same principle applies today. To stay rich, you have to think in decades, not days. Now, one final thing. Even kings need happiness. Set aside a small amount for enjoyment. Be happy wisely. Buy what truly brings you joy. Because real wealth is waking up in the morning and deciding what to do with your time, not showing off what you spent. Once you've secured your fortress, look beyond yourself. The ultimate purpose of money isn't extravagance. The purpose is legacy. Invest in ideas, people, and work that will outlive you. If you truly understand these rules, you will see that wealth is not noise. It is silence. It is not ostentation. It is power. Machiavelli wrote that a wise king spends not to appear rich, but to remain rich. So remember, becoming rich is easy. Staying rich is a war. Fortune may give you gold, but only wisdom can preserve it. Build your fortress, stay quiet, and never tell the world where your real treasure lies. Because what is visible becomes a target, and what remains hidden rules. And in Machiavelli's own words, it is better to act and repent than not to act and repent. So act. But act with foresight. Build your fortress, protect it, grow it, and never tell the world where your crown truly lies. Now the decision is yours.